beep, 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 pop. G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here, and welcome back to another episode of Tech Tuesday, where every Tuesday we get together, we talk about some new, different, or just exciting technology in the FPV drone racing world. And today, it definitely is different because we're going to be looking at this type of frame here. This is some molded carbon frames, and traditionally in the past, what most of us fly around, 99% of the frames out there, they're all made from some flat pieces of carbon that then we sort of bolt together. But these ones right here, believe it or not, these are injection molded carbon, and it does offer some great strength alternatives out there. We've got the Rhino, this one's the Beetle V3. I'll link a whole bunch down below as well. I know, is it FURC, or there's a whole bunch of different sort of carbon molded frames out there that I really haven't had any experience with. So I'm pretty excited. What we're going to do, we're going to stick this on the bench and find out, sort of talk about its pros and cons, find out is this going to be the right frame for you. And believe it or not, this actually is carbon in it. It is, I'm really trying to break that. It is honestly ridiculously ridiculously stiff, and does have some great strength. So let's stick it on the bench and find out, is this Beetle V3 or this injection molded series going to be the right frame for you? Let's do it. Alrighty, here it is on the bench, and this is by no means the first carbon molded frame, but it's the first one I've got. You know, I've got a 3-inch here, the Rhino. We've got the Beetle. I'll link some other ones down below as well. I think it's the FURC or whatever. I'll link a whole bunch down below if you want to go check them out. But they do offer some things very different to our traditional counterparts right here. So this is sort of, I'm going to call it the flat pack, the flat carbon that we're used to. So this is my reverb, and literally because it's got my little name engraved in there, I'm quite proud of this little frame. And first things first, let's stick it on the scales, find out how much these bad boys are going to weigh. So this one right here, a blank frame, it's coming in at about 130 grams. It's not the lightest, it's also not the heaviest. Now this one right here, that's going to be a fairly comparable weight to sort of some of those freestyle or acro quads. Now I do need to put this little camera mount on there because that's essential, and that's coming in at 112 grams. So it is lighter than some of the things out there like the Reverb, but if you're buying one of these as a racer, it's nowhere near as light as the Proton, the Floss, some of those really ultralights out there. So don't get one of these thinking you're going to build something ultralight. But what this thing does do, and does do very well, these sort of carbon molded frames, and I really like this design actually, how you've got the one base plate and a separate top canopy versus the one where it's all sort of encompassed in one. These ones right here are ridiculously stiff. Like, I don't know if you can see the camera shaking when I'm trying to break this, but it is very, very rigid. I don't think this thing's going to be flexing whatsoever, and it should hold up extremely well in crashes. Now, speaking of those crashes, what you are going to want to do is you're going to want to put these little parts on right here, and when you're putting this together, flat side goes up. Don't make the mistake and think this side goes up, even though it looks all fancy and you think those arms would go on. Nope, it actually goes together this way. So you need to put these little protectors on. They also serve as a soft mount, and I think if this frame was going to start to come apart somewhere, it would come apart right here where these little arms are sort of joined. I can't see any physical separation, and it doesn't seem to affect the strength whatsoever, but I do think if you crash this thing hard enough into concrete, that's going to be the first area that it starts to break, starts to wear down, and once that happens, that's going to travel all through your quad, and pretty much your frame's going to be ruined. Now, there are some advantages by running it like this. Of course, the strength from all directions, it's very, very stiff. If you want to protect your components, I'd say this does it better than any others out there. It is, if you slam down on the top, this thing, it's not going to sort of, especially if you've just got some plastic mounts inside, that's going to sort of, there's going to be no really hard impact on your components. And if you've got that sort of point of failure with those little plastic standoffs, I think you're going to be able to protect your cameras, your flight controllers, your ESCs, all that sort of jazz, all the good expensive parts. A frame like this is going to protect it very well. Another advantage of this, for those people out there who like to spin reverse props, because that's a bit of a debate in the hobby, does it have any benefit? And in a frame like this, I don't really like it, because when you're spinning reverse props, yes, you don't flick grass onto your lens, which can bug some people, but that means you're flicking it into your flight controller, into your ESCs, into all the valuables, and where it can short, cause a fire. I don't like it in some open air frames like this. But if you've got one of these pod styles that protects it so well, there's no way that you're going to be getting any grass or anything like that in your flight controller. So if you buy one of these frames, and I would definitely recommend, put some reverse props on there, because there's nothing to lose. You're not going to be getting all that grass flicking into your flight controller, because it's just so well protected. Now, who's this frame sort of suited for? Is it the racer? No, because it's a little little bit heavier. Is it the Freestyler? Well, it's very strong, but it doesn't carry a GoPro, which is where I find all these frames have their biggest limitation. I think it should sort of have a bit of a scoop built in. I think that'd be much better for the session. And really, I'd say this is a beta quad. So someone out there, when I say beta, this thing should be able to take an absolute beating. It's going to protect your components, and you should have a lot of confidence flying around knowing that this is a very robust quad that can take a beating, especially when you're still learning to fly. Now, with all that said and done, I know this is a bit of a short Tech Tuesday because there's only so much you can say. It's a relatively simple idea that I wanted to show you, but I think it does it well. For the price, it's pretty good value, and overall, I think it's definitely something I'd be interested in if I was going to be building a first racer that I wanted to take an absolute beating, especially if I was learning and crashing all the time. Alrighty, so there it is. There's my Tech Tuesday. Quick look at these carbon injection molded frames, the Rhino, the Beetle, and overall, look, I am a fan of them. I think it's different. It does offer some great things in terms of strength, but it does come at a cost. So they're a little bit heavier because you can really get like a minimalistic type of frame, especially with these flat pack ones. If you go something especially like the Proton or the Skinny Kid, some of those really ultra light quads out there, they can be very, very light. But this thing, it's definitely a bit of a porker, but the strength you get from this it's just next level. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I'd love to know what you think. I would wish if you're listening and you're designing these out there, I really do wish they could sort of fit the GoPro mounts, incorporate that into them, because in its current state, it's going to be very hard to mount a GoPro to some of these. Look, I've got two of these ones too, I should mention, some of these little 3 inches. So I want to give one of these away to my Patreon supporters. So I'll throw that in the drawer. Congratulations to my Patreon supporters, because look, I couldn't do this channel without your support. So hopefully someone's going to enjoy that. It'd be really cool to see that build up. Subscribe for more FPV related content. Drop your comments down below. What do you think about this one? What color would you get? Because look, they do the normal carbon fiber ones, but I thought orange was the best one there. And as always, happy flying. Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page, because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAVfutures family, there's things like bonus Velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying.